Zambia Blog Talk Radio.
Do you want to promote your business on Zambia Blog Talk Radio? Yes, that's right. Live on Zambia Blog Talk Radio. To book your spot, just make a donation by picking from the following categories. To get started, just call or WhatsApp the number on the screen and you'll be good to go. Live on Zambia Blog Talk Radio every Saturday for 1 full month. And it will stay on the recorded shows.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. It is Saturday, February the 18th, and we do appreciate you for joining us. We have an exciting discussion for you today, and it's going to be, trust me, it's going to be explosive. Before we get to the show, I want to take this opportunity to thank each one of you for the birthday greetings. Oh, my goodness, I was overwhelmed. I mean, my Facebook page just lit up. And I feel the love, and it's overwhelming and everything, exciting stuff. And we are excited for you to be with us today and to join us for this discussion. All right, we have a lot to talk about. We are going to get straight into business and get into things and welcome our guest. He's not a stranger to this forum. It's not the first time he's coming back. Though some of you will remember that 2 weeks ago, we hosted Dr. Mbewe, UPND consultant. So Dr. Mbewe reached out and he said he would like to do a rebuttal of that discussion. So basically what we are going to do is I am simply going to ask him the same questions that I asked Mr. Simwe, and then we shall, and it's basically like a citizen's response to the whole discussion. Dr. Richard Mbewe is a chemical engineer by qualification in his bachelor's degree, and he has a Master of Science and an MBA, which is a Master of Bachelor of Administration, and he's also got a PhD in Earth Sciences Sustainable Development. That's right, Dr. Mbewe. Good morning. Good afternoon to you.
Yes. Good afternoon, Nathan, and good afternoon, our viewers, listeners, wherever you are in the globe.
Yes, there's one thing that I also want to point out for our listeners to understand what puts you in this situation to be able to comment on this and for our discussion. You lived in Poland for 30 years, and now
I lived in Poland for 30 years. I went there way back in 1983 when Poland was still a communist country.
Okay.
Then in 1989, with the fall of the Wall of Berlin, Poland started transforming into a capitalist state.
Yes.
And I participated in that process.
You did?
Through investment banking as a chief economist of an investment bank, which was dealing with the privatization. Okay. Then also the authorities there recognized my knowledge, and I was one of the advisors who were advising the various committees negotiating Poland's entrance into NATO and Poland's entrance into the EU.
Okay.
And then I also worked there in Poland as a private sector liaison officer for the World Bank. This means the World Bank has been encouraging private companies to participate in their projects as contractors, service providers, and so on. But they don't, the private companies, most of them never knew how to do that. So the World Bank has set up a private sector liaison officer for each country, and that the role of that person is to encourage private companies to participate in this project and how they can go about it. And I held that position for 3 years for Poland. Thank you.
Wow, amazing. Okay, that's and you've lived in Zambia for 10 years now, going to 11. Let's get into the discussion. Like I've said to Dr. Mbewe, what I'm going to do is just basically ask you the same questions that I asked Mark. Okay, you've been there for
Yes,
the
fine
past
with
10
me.
years, 10 to 11 years, and you are participating in this process, the process of the country, whatever is going on there. You're part of it. You're on the ground. Now, my first question
Yes.
to you is that there is this resounding accusation from other political leaders that HH is a perpetual liar. What's your response to that allegation?
That is, my dear brother, that is a very heavily political oriented question.
Okay.
Secondly, it is moral. It's a moral and spiritual question. Who am I to judge any person, let alone a president, that is a liar? I'm not a politician, so I cannot participate in that process. However, I can use some language because also here in Zambia, when I came, I started teaching at the diplomatic college. I've been teaching foreign Zambian diplomats who are going to foreign service. And
Okay. What do you teach there?
I can diplomatic. Yes.
Yes. I'm
Okay,
saying,
I
what
can
subject do you teach?
diplomatically answer. What was I teaching? I was teaching in nation branding and marketing. How you can brand a country and then market it.
Wow.
You treat a nation now as a product, and then you brand it and go to sell it. I did that for 5 years, from 2013 to 2018 at the Zambia Institute of Diplomacy and International Studies. I was the lecturer for marketing and nation branding. So I learned a bit of diplomacy there. And in answering that question using diplomatic language is that, yes, there's a dissonance or difference between what President HH was promising during the election campaign and what people are seeing now. And that difference is as a result of two major factors. The first major factor, which makes it look like that, is that he promised things that they will come, but for those things to come, it has to take time. And let's face facts, and I'm sure that's why people requested me to come here. It's not only it has to take time, it can be painful. You see, mostly it is economical. Zambia's economy has been, okay, let's use another strong language. It has been destroyed because no appropriate economic policies for continuity have been put in place. But to make matters worse, every new coming leader does not look at what the predecessor was doing. For him, what the predecessor was doing is totally wrong, and you have to bury that and forget about it.
Why do we have that? Why do we have that notion or conception or approach to our politics, Dr. Mbewe? Why?
Because we tend to have that African mentality that I'm the Messiah, I'm the Moses who has come to liberate Zambia. So whatever has been there in the past, forget about it. Actually, in management, I'm also a lecturer of management studies. In management, we also teach that when you take over as a new leader, exploit the successes of your predecessor to the maximum and minimize his failures. And in the place of his failures, put in your new policies.
Okay.
Most of the people, starting with President Chiluba, may his soul rest in peace, they are the ones who came up with that first notion that anything which the predecessor was doing was wrong. Today, 40 years down the road, the infrastructure which you are seeing, the things which you are seeing, the schools, the things, systems that have tested the time, they are count as things.
That's true.
So what was he wrong about? So the consecutive presidents, President Mwanawasa, President Banda, President Sata, President Lungu, they were forgetting about what the predecessor did. They start building Rome afresh. They started rediscovering America when America has already been discovered by Columbus way centuries ago. So that is the problem we have. You want to destroy what is already there to come up with something new, which takes time to yield the results.
Okay.
Secondly, the economic policies which you might introduce, they take time to manifest. They usually go into quarters. From the time of announcement in those established economies, from the time of announcement that we are reducing interest rates, these interest rates will reach Main Street, which means the common man, after 2 quarters. What about a country like Zambia? To take more time. So, even if President HH has got good ideas,
yes,
people are impatient to wait for the good results. That's why some are branding him a liar. Thank you.
Okay. On that point, I like what you have said. So what are some of the, give us 2 examples, something that he said, 2 things he said during the campaign, and it doesn't seem to be what it is seemingly supposed to be. What are some of the things he said during the campaign which are not being done or not coming out the way they're supposed to, or he has completely abandoned them? Let's have some examples.
I want to go to extremes, but let's take simple things like exchange rate. He said, when I take over, it will go down by 4 kwacha, by 14 hours or whatever there.
Yes.
You see, that hasn't happened. It has just been going up and up and up. And the people do not understand that. We shall come back to that when we shall be talking about exchange rate, if there will be such an option. The other thing is the classical mill. It doesn't, that whether he knows or not, he doesn't know, or he doesn't seem to appreciate the fact that in any country, a staple food is the primary thing which a politician should deal with, which means that never let the price of meal go up. He promised that it will go down to 50 kwacha. It is reaching 250 in some places, 180, and so on, until the national service one, which was brought, which was going at 150. But that is not even going throughout, the supply is not covering the whole country. So with those things, after 1.5 years in power, people have started to say that, no, he's cheating. He cheated us because he told us that the minimum will be 50 kwacha. Now it's 250. He told us that fuel will go down. The fuel is rising, and there are no issues, or there are no signs that it will be reduced. Electricity, there are rumors it's going up, stories, and so on and so on. Fuel in the street, they are saying 35 kwacha. And once such rumors go, I'm sure government has got its own intelligence who get such stories. And no one goes out to refute those allegations, say that's not true, it won't reach 35. And once you keep quiet, people think they have proved themselves right, you are wrong. So it will reach 35. And automatically that creates discontent.
Okay, interesting. Let me play this video and I want you to respond to this. Let's watch this video and I want you to respond to this.
Remember, every Zambian know this story. I can Kapamela. Bali would lift this and say, this is not going to be happening in my government. This is cooking oil. He said he will work on this. He will not have it. But under his government, this is even higher than we have seen. Right now, Nkamamona, Ubunga, 25 kg, is 200. That's the average price. Cooking oil, 245. 5 liters. So, if they came on the basis that they'll fix this, why aren't they fixing it? Why aren't they fixing meal?
Okay, that's very clear. Your response to that?
I saw that interview. That's a politician.
Yes.
And to call a spade, he's right. And this is as a result of the UPND government putting up wrong priorities. Why am I saying wrong priorities? When they take over government, I said earlier, you have to look at food. So the first thing they should have looked at is how do we grow more maize? Because it's only through the law of demand and supply that you expect the price of meal meal to go down. When there will be so much meal meal being supplied on the market, which means you need to have more farms growing that. If you can't have farms, if you can't find investors to do that, the government should partner with people. The PPP, public partnership act, is virtually non-existent in Zambia. Recently, the Zambia Institute of Policy Analysis and Research were given a task by the African Union to find out reasons why PPP doesn't work in Zambia. I was asked as an independent consultant, because I did that, the PP thing is in Poland. And we discussed the various reasons why those things don't work. And when we prepared the report, we invited all these big ministries, the PPP department itself in the Ministry of Finance. And did you know what? None of the government people came.
Oh, wow.
It's on the NGOs and so on and so on. So which means the real solution, the government doesn't seem to care. And with finishing up with what I'd started with, the government should set up giant farms. Let's call it state farms for the sake of illustration, because some of you get crazy once you hear the word state farm. You think that it is communism being brought back. No, it is a giant farm created by the state in a country like Zambia, where there is no capital. The only people who've got capital is the state.
That's right.
So use that capital. Partner with the private sector. Investment banking will tell you, take it to the stock exchange. People will be buying shares from there. And slowly, the government gets out of that business. But you have left farms doing that. Nathan, imagine. And to the public, I'm sorry to be calling Bishop Nkamba Nathan. He's my childhood friend.
That's fine. We are friends.
We have childhood friends. So, Bishop, you imagine if in Zambia, each province was given to build 2 state farms. You'll have 20. And you imagine if each one is given a specific product plant to grow.
Yes.
Maize, wheat, potatoes, groundnuts, sunflower, soya beans. And you bring small factories to be on that very state farm to do the processing. You know how much surplus food we would have. We would be feeding the whole Southern Africa. But the problem is, how do we start it? Who supplies the capital, the initial capital to start that business? It can be the state or quasi-government institutions. You see? But those institutions should not be politicized. We saw during Kaunda's time what happens when the government institutions, which are supposed to be income generating, are turned into mouthpieces of the political party. So going back to that video, that gentleman showed the answer, the result, but he did not show the source of that Pacamela going up, that cooking oil in a plastic bag going up. He does not show what should be done in order to improve the situation.
So why have the commodities going up, Dr. Mbewe? What's going on? What's leading to that?
Because the prices are going up because government is trying to fight inflation. This is very critical.
So they are not doing it the right way. They are not doing it the right way, or what's going on?
No, they have made the wrong choice. There is what is known in the economics, Phillips curve. Either government has to fight inflation or to fight unemployment, meaning creating jobs. So the Zambian government, working under the auspices of the IMF, is fighting inflation. That is why interest rates are high. That is why the Bank of Zambia increased the reserve, which a commercial bank has to make. And in that way, withdrawing money from circulation. The money from circulation is very little, and the banks who are there on the market have got no interest in lending to Zambian entrepreneurs, businesses, and so on. Thirdly, you are increasing the prices of fuel. When you increase the price of fuel, it means everything that is transported, its price has to go up.
Of course.
And therefore, prices go up, meaning those very pakamelas and to cooking oil, they will have to go up. While salaries and wages still remain stagnant.
Remain the same, yeah.
They are the same. So life becomes impossible. In a situation where unemployment is very high, government statistics will say 12%, 13%, 15%. For me, I say boza. Unemployment in Zambia should be around 70%.
Yeah, of course we know that. I mean,
yes,
and that is not a UPND issue. All the governments,
no, it's not. It is a generational issue.
You've been part of this for a long time.
Put up policies that would create jobs.
Every time we ask what the employment rate is, they say you are trying to be an alarmist. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Is HH micromanaging the country? Because we are not seeing or hearing from cabinet ministers. You are on the ground, so help us understand. Maybe because Mbewe responded to this and said, you are not here. So how can you say it's micromanaging?
No,
do you hear from the ministers? Tell us.
I'll have to say it. The problem is that the truth is painful. So no matter how painful it is, let's swallow it.
This is a rebuttal to Mbewe's interview. So we want to hear from a private citizen. Yeah.
Yes. The HH is micromanaging the economy.
Why do you
say that?
Because
things don't work without his participation or recommendation. For me, it was unnecessary for him to go to Angola. He could have sent the Minister of Energy with clear responsibilities, what he has to go and negotiate and so on. Before that, he could have sent a group of advisors to go and test the waters in Angola, such that if he has to go to Angola, it is only to sign the contract, because it has to be government and to give it a high rank of authority. It was unnecessary for him to go to Senegal to talk about African agriculture. The Minister of Agriculture would have done that. Again, under specific instructions. When the Minister of Agriculture there is not confident, he picks up a call and rings, Bwana, here the situation is like this, what should I do? Or should I sign?
Right there, Mbewe, on the Senegal summit, there was an argument that there were other heads of state didn't send their agriculture ministers. The heads of state themselves went. So that's why HH had to be there as well.
No, that's a poor argument. I feel the head of state should go to those things that directly influence us. For example, there were other heads, the way they are using other heads of state at the Munich Defense Conference yesterday or the day before yesterday on Ukraine. Why didn't he go? Because it doesn't affect us.
No,
it affects, but indirect. So it's sort of a matter of first-class priority. Then down here on the ground, I am treading on dangerous ground. Here on the ground, we have got SADC, which is actually not functioning. That's why you can go and make a name as the person who rejuvenated the SADC. When you look at SADC, which countries there can you count that these are countries which mean something? It is South Africa only. That's why one of these defense maps, they show the whole SADC region as an area of influence of South Africa. Then the rest of Africa is put in red as an area of influence of China. Then Europe and USA, it's in blue as area of influence of USA. So why can't Zambia reactivate SADC? Of course, they will tell us that he went to Gengop, the Namibian president. They are the security troika. They went to discuss there. But the major security issue of SADC, it wasn't raised here. It's the instability in Congo, the new instability in Mozambique, and potential other instabilities. For example, in Zimbabwe, if Mnangagwa was to go, who is coming up there and what will they bring? Then there is a country which seems to be stable, but is boiling. That is Lesotho. There have been so many issues there, succession wrangles, not on the king, but on the prime ministership. What about Botswana and Ian Khama? How is it going to go? They want to arrest Ian Khama for corruption, for this and that and so on. I feel those are major issues which Zambia can champion and either become a deputy of South Africa or even be the head in Southern Africa, especially that South Africa, if it doesn't watch out, it's going to be in big trouble because of the social imbalances which have continued. Look at that high rate of crime in South Africa. It's unsustainable.
Yeah, it's out of
and
control.
In that way, we are proving what Ian Smith said, that leave the Africans alone. The sewage systems will not be working. This will not be, education system will be in tatters. Well, that's a fact in Africa today.
Unfortunately.
So you can get angry. Oh, you're supporting a racist and so on. But if the racist said the truth, what can I do?
Okay, Dr. Mbewe, the issue of street vendors is a sensitive one. You know that. You and I were born in that era. You know the issue of street vendors is very sensitive. Local government minister makes a statement, Garin Combo. The president comes and what do you call it? How did that come out? As a person
he overrides the decision.
He overrides the decision. How did that come out?
Okay, here, Bishop, let me add a little information. When I came here to Zambia, the first major project I worked on was entitled "The Formalizing and Legalizing Street Vending in Zambia." I was the lead consultant. So I know street vending in and out. We did that with Deloitte and Touche.
Okay.
They made me an outsider to be the lead consultant. We researched about street vending in Zambia. The problem with street vending is not what people think. It is culture.
What do people think?
People think like this. We have a market. Let's talk of the standard markets we know. Masala market, Kavushi market, Lubama market, this and that. There to sell there, you have to be allocated a place by the owners of the market, usually the city council or the town council, which belongs to the Ministry of Local Government. You have to talk for some time, so people shouldn't be disgruntled in order for people to understand the issue.
Yeah, just explain it. I won't interrupt you.
Okay, so they allocate you that place. But the number of traders suddenly increases, especially in those lucrative markets like Soweto, Lubama market, Nindola, so that one is it Buteko market, the one in town, Pama bus stop, Paja, and so on. Those traders are not given any place inside. Why? Because there are no places or have been taken. So what do these people start doing? They start selling outside the market.
Okay. And in the street, and in the streets.
That flows to the street.
Yeah.
That overflow reaches the street. Here comes the consumer. Instead of going inside the market, she decides to buy here outside the market because they have found the product. A small hill or mountain of impua eggplant would cost 7 kwacha inside the market, but this man outside will sell it at 5 kwacha, even 4 kwacha, because he doesn't have to pay the city council.
Yes.
So people end up buying from the streets because it is readily available and it is relatively cheaper than there in the market. So you've got street vending coming up. But here now, there are a lot of issues which will be explained right now with such an action. There's a loophole. Those people in the city, in the street, not city, in the street, they are not paying to the city council. They create a loophole which party cadres come and say, you pay or I won't let you stand here. The city council cannot come to stand to this, cannot come to the defense of that trader because it's not under their jurisdiction.
Under their jurisdiction. But I thought, Dr. Mbewe, I thought we don't have cadres anymore. So
no, please. We don't have cadres as rude and bad as 2 years ago.
Okay.
That doesn't mean they are not there.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me go to explaining that thing. So now, those people, they start being controlled by cadres. Cadres become big, especially that the council is a toothless bulldog. It doesn't have money even to run its own security system, the council police. Those Kenyans are not there. So these cadres have become big. They enter now into the market even. Now, since they become big, they become a lucrative voting group.
Block.
The politicians. So the politicians team up with the cadres. And the cadres now are given more power. Because you can't do anything. You get the point? And you find that most of these unemployed youth, they start joining those things and become controllers, executors, and so on and so on. So the cadre thing becomes a huge genie that runs out of control. Now, Garin Combo, I'm answering your question now, comes.
Okay.
Yeah. The new sheriff in town. The genie runs away. Runs away where? To the boss. Vativuta tiribe mukodiera. Vandani vamene vagari. So the president has to go and reduce his power, Garin Combo's power, because this is political. This I want to stress. I want to stress. This is my thinking as a person who has analyzed the street vending thing. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. This is my supposition. It can be proved by the facts that the president goes to reduce this one, then that one stops it, then you see the cadres coming back, you talk to marketeers, they tell you those guys still come and demand their 5 kwacha every morning. Yes.
The impression, everybody listening and watching, remember, we are asking Dr. Mbewe the same questions we ask Mark Simoe. This is a rebuttal, okay? The impression that has been created, especially with the numerous foreign trips, is that he doesn't have confidence in his team members. Your comment?
Side effect of the president wanting to do everything. Either it is a sign of no confidence in the people he has, or is a jack of all trades. He wants to do everything on his own. So why employ ministers? Just because the constitution demands that from you?
What are the effects of that? The political consequences of that? The route he has taken, in your view? What do you think?
There are two major consequences. The first major consequence of that will be that it will have an impact on his reputation, because he cannot succeed on each and every game. In some games, you fail and they will blame him. Secondly, it will bring disgruntledness amongst the ministers. That what are we doing here? This is just an anecdotal joke. It's a joke. Someone is a minister of foreign affairs. Then the wife goes at home, goes, these Zambian women, you quarrel with us. I go, I'm a minister. You say, I'm minister of foreign affairs. Neither last time why in any foreign country. You failed to answer. And she just,
that means he doesn't go with him?
How many ministers go? Do you remember him not taking along the press assistant? Of course, later on, the press assistant was relieved of his duties. So that also sent a wrong signal that, if he's not taking you, your days are numbered. Why do you say that? Remember this word?
Yeah. So as a private citizen, what was pertaining on the ground? What led to the dismissal of Walia? Is that what his name? I can't remember. Yeah. What was pertaining on the ground? What led to there was a rumor that he received a lot of money from somewhere, which was not supposed to. What was pertaining on the ground on that matter?
Immediately the announcement was made that he's being relieved of his duties, they did not give a convincing reason why they are relieving him. Actually, they didn't even give a reason. They just said he's being taken to other
reassigned.
Reassigned. And then we were told he's going to be Deputy High Commissioner to Tanzania. Okay, now, what does that mean? I'm sure that's the question. The people, people shouldn't run away from it. And as Zambians, let's handle it before it gets out of hand. The people just concluded tribalism. Walia is a Bemba, and they think they have paid him enough for the time he was helping them fight the PFU. Now they are getting rid of him. They'll send him to Tanzania as Deputy High Commissioner. After 3 years or 5 years of service, he's brought back quietly for further redeployment, and we don't know where. Or in the best case scenario, he becomes the High Commissioner in Kasempa or in Lundazi. You get the point?
District
Commission. This is what people thought were thinking. Now, I think they thought it inside there, and this story of Saudi Arabia comes up.
Yes.
So, the Saudi story is twofold. It can be true. He demanded money, and no one is guilty in Zambia until he is proved so in a court of law, or you provide evidence. 2, it could be a cover-up for the first mistake of summarily dismissing him without giving a proper reason. But there could be a third option. If the second option is correct, that it is a way of summarily dismissing him, then you have to prove that he got money from there. If he got money from there, why are you sending him to Tanzania? Are you not promoting lawlessness and corruption? Then another one here would fire another. Hey, maybe that's a way of trying to get rid of him right now. And I think that's not the best way to handle such issues, like especially dealing with the so-called close advisors to the president. They are too close.
Okay.
He was too close for him to go away like that, and people would raise issues. Why is it like that? Maybe he knew something we don't know, and so that cloud is still hanging. That's what I can say.
Okay. I have two major questions, and it will take us back to the economy. But
Yes.
before we do that, let's just read some comments from the people. Hello, ZBTR from Miss Nelly. Hi, Nelly. And then she further goes on to say, that's fantastic. I think this is in relation to you being part of the rebranding of the country. The Western countries have been marketing and branding themselves for a long time. Example given the American dream. Okay. We have some more comments here from Miss Clotilda says, good morning. Hi, Clotilda. Miss Linda Banks in the UK says she's following the discussion. Okay. All right. Clotilde asks a question here. Does Zambia produce oil? Do we produce oil? No. I remember there was something.
That's a big discussion here. Let's take it right here, lest we forget. Zambia, one, does not produce oil. Does not. Two, Zambia has, from some geological maps I've seen, Zambia has got oil reserves. So it's a matter of making a political decision to start mining them.
Okay.
Three, this is now good. Okay, you take over.
Let's leave it there. Okay. Oscar says, I think governments from MMD and PF did not heavily invest in fertilizer plants and provincial centers for distribution. This is selfish from politicians who don't have foresight for the people. UPND found things not in order. Your guest should highlight big debts, Euro bonds misuse, China non-disclosure debt, Chinese workers coming to do construction work. I don't understand why our government accepts this nonsense of China bringing its workers every time they give a loan. Those are some of the comments from our listeners. I have two major questions and we conclude our discussion. This I need to ask. The energy crisis, Dr. Mbewe, is an absolute embarrassment. Firstly, why have we only heard from ZESCO? Why were we only hearing from ZESCO board chairman? Okay, he is neither a policymaker nor the custodian of the daily operations of the utility corporation. There were what really happened. You can respond to this in whichever way you want. When UPND took over, there was no load shedding. So why did it come back? And why are we hearing from a board chairperson? Is not the custodian of the operations of that company?
That's a very tough question. As you have rightly said earlier on, I'm a simple citizen who can simply give you my opinion of speculation being on the ground. The first thing we have to handle is that would look like a continuation of our previous discussion regarding Clotilda's question. Does Zambia have a refinery? That's the second question. Apart from the first one of saying, do we have crude oil? Do we have a refinery or a blending plant?
Two different things, right?
Two different things. The refinery takes crude oil, the black greasy thing,
yes,
and refines it into so many products. If you remember our grade 12 chemistry, this is from 5 chemistry, the rectification column of crude oil.
Yes.
And the first product are gases, methane, ethane, and so on. Then liquids, petroleum, fuel, jet gas, and so on. Lastly, grease, and Vaseline until the last one is tar. When making roads, Zambia imports tar. That shows you that Indeni is not a refinery. It is a blending plant. What does a blending plant do? It takes different types of fuels, mixes them to make an appropriate fuel that will support the combustion of an engine, whether it's diesel or petrol. This is the one, a blending plant, that buys ethanol from maize, from cassava, from sugar, from whatever. Because it also has got an impact on the octane number. That's a number for the combustion engine. Let's not go that. It's not a chemical engineering class. So, Indeni is such a plant. So when Zambia is getting, because Indeni has become obsolete, what you are getting are fuels that are already mixed and brought here to Zambia. What happens here is the controlling of the price by ERP. I won't go into that details. That's a big story for another discussion. When we come to electricity, I started, Nathan knows that when we were still young with the Block Talk Radio, when it started long ago, I started thinking that when I go to Zambia, the always major problem I have is the access to internet. And you don't have access to internet because there's no electricity. You didn't charge your phone, you didn't charge your modem, all that stuff. So I thought of investing in the power generation industry. And I looked around. You see, it is shocking that after 50 years of independence, we still mostly depend on the Kariba. If you follow the statistics of Kariba, it was built somewhere in 1958. Zambia's population was about 1 million something. Zimbabwe was about 3 million something. So that one power station was more than enough. But today, 50 years down the road, Zambia's population is reaching 20 million. Zimbabwe is around 40, if not going to 50 million. Therefore, if Zambia's 1 million were happy with one Kariba, today our rough estimates would be, with 20 million people, Zambia should have how many? 20 Karibas. We still have one. Of course, they have talked of Kafue Goji Upper, Kafue Goji Lower, this and that, but there are problems there. There are Mamba corals that are making the electricity. So the solution, I strongly say it here, the solution to Zambia's electricity problems is to generate more, increase the supply.
But
So
isn't part of the problem, Dr. Mbewe, that even the little that we are generating, we are exporting?
That makes it even worse to satisfy the local market. And even that little which you are saying that some of it we are exporting, we have got someone who is producing from core, Mamba corals, but he cuts off. So the supply becomes
and
low.
Here we go again to that question, Mbewe. Did it have to take the president to go to Mamba corals to resolve that problem? You see how all these things are intertwined?
Very much. Let me answer that question. Foreign investors, and remember, Mamba corals belongs to some Indian outfit. I don't know their names.
Why?
Their name, that is. Foreign investors have got one tendency. I've discussed this, or even on European level.
Yes.
They want security of payment. At the beginning, they would start dealing with ZESCO, that it is secured by the state because it's a state-owned enterprise. Then ZESCO defaults with payment, but it is still taking the money. Then ZESCO, then Mamba corals switches off the electricity. ZESCO still doesn't pay. A sign that they did not have any money at all. So if they have to be trusted, Zesco, they need a new goalkeeper. In such a situation, it can only be the president.
then there's no need for a CEO or managing director or whatever. I need to ask the
what is he going to do there? What is he going to do there? They want somebody who carries weight, and it is him. He goes to talk to them, to Mamba Coralis, and Mamba Coralis, within seconds,
they turn on.
Fionza Zambia Kamalite in a road shading yap. From there, the president should turn now to the ZESCO and to the treasury. You guys, by month end, I should have money to pay these guys, or else my reputation is under fire.
Then he should fire them. If they are not performing, he can't be doing everything. They should be fired. My final question, Dr. Mbewe, my final question. It's twofold. My final question is twofold. Janet Yellen, U.S. Secretary Treasury, visits Zambia. What are the implications? We've never seen that happen before. What was Janet Yellen's visit to Zambia about? Number two, within the same question, is Verani. And you've heard this being said, especially Mbewe is championing this argument. It appears like HH aligning himself with the West and America in particular is auctioning the country to the imperialists.
Generally speaking, when ministers start visiting each other, even presidents, that shows you that relationships between these two countries is getting higher, stronger and stronger.
Yes.
That's why when a new president is elected, the first thing we watch out as we watch international, who monitor international relations, which country is he going to visit first?
First, okay.
And here I'll be answering your indirect question, which you haven't asked, but it is part of the same group. The president has been to Western countries. He hasn't been to China.
No.
What does that say about Zambia-China relationship under HH? They are in danger. China would be treated maybe as a fourth-class citizen in Zambia. But just a minute, majority of the Zambia's debt today is with who? With China. Are you not seeing some problems here? Addressing the issue of Yellen directly now. Yellen is America's secretary to the treasury. Muchakumo is Minister of Finance. Nimusokotwane uliowa kwa Biden. Then, Aisa Kunoku Zambia. Does she run Zambia's economics? No. So, using my street language, what the hell is she looking for here in Zambia?
Okay, what was she looking for?
She was trying to strengthen the relationships with Zambia and
the USA.
At the same time she was here, the managing director of
IMF,
Grigorieva, was here, the former Bulgarian prime minister. She was here at the same time. So you see the West dancing, holding carnival in the streets of Lusaka. You think the Chinese are just watching and are happy with that? That's another question for another day.
That's why
so
they
the story of Yellen, it was a confirmation that Zambia is heavily becoming American, especially after signing the opening of that Africa Corps office. The American.
It was closed for a long time. It was non-existent.
Yes. The African countries had chased all American forces and bases in Africa. That was the decision of the AU, African Union. America set up its Africa Corps in Germany. That's where they was. And for the first time in Zambia, they have opened a representative office. That very African, and this is done by a new president. Is it trying to play ball alone without the other African players? But now those are issues of diplomacy.
That's an interesting point which we need to pick up in another discussion. A lot of things, you've raised a lot of issues here in this discussion. Okay, and I don't know if you can do this under a minute or 2 minutes. Mbewe's argument.
Okay.
Mbewe's argument. He says HH is auctioning the country to imperialists.
Mbewe is a politician. I've got one thing in common with him, or one thing which separates me from him. Me, I'm a romantic socialist. What does that mean to be a romantic socialist? Your friends are Che Guevara, Fidel Castro, Hugo Chavez, and that's where it ends. Yes. Because when Fidel tells me he wants to bring his communist economic policies in Zambia, I'll say, no, those ones don't work in our culture. But I like their courage and so on, and their strength against the giant, the USA. Mbewe strongly believes those things. He met even Fidel, and some of those things, those fatigues he puts on, they were given to him by Fidel.
Yes.
That cape with a red star. He's a proper socialist. Or is it communist? No, socialist. That's why he can use that phrase that HH is auctioning Zambia to the West. One would do, strictly speaking, like an analyst like me, think that there's something going on like that. Because the lithium thing is going on to be awarded to Americans. The mines which they are saying they have found investors, most likely it is the Western investors. But what about the East, especially China? What about Russia? Those people also have got technologies, have got money. They can come and invest here. India. But with India, watch out culture-wise there. So, answering that question, it might look like he's auctioning. And the reason why I'm saying it might look like he's auctioning, because the president is doing these travelings with a lot of secrecy. He is still behaving as if he's a businessman, and he has forgotten that now he's a politician. He's
a public figure.
The father of the nation. That's why his limousine, the plate number is Ego 1, meaning Zambia. I think here I should say it. People should know, his family and himself included, that he's no longer himself. He's no longer belonging to his family. He's the property of the Republic of Zambia. Even when he dies, we shall choose where to bury him, not his family.
Dr. Mbewe. Okay.
So some of the things which he's doing, he should be informing the people, just to know. When he comes back from a trip, he holds a conference.
A conference, yeah.
Or he issues a statement to the nation. I traveled to this, I went to do this, I've brought this. Not he comes and says, you see. No, we are not competing with you. We have already chosen you, President HH. You are the boss. Show us how things should change. We are not competing with you. No. Thank you.
Dr. Mbewe, thank you. Everybody, that was a rebuttal to our interview with Mr. Mbewe, the UPND consultant. I basically asked him the same questions that I asked Mbewe. My brother, it's always good to have you here, and your insight is much appreciated. We are going to do another one. Follow up. I just realized there are a lot of things I told you we're going to discuss we haven't discussed.
Yes, I know. Anyway, my brother, it's a pleasure always to come here. I'm with Diasporan. I stayed in Poland for 30 years. I was one of the first people to be on this Blog Talk Radio with you. When it started back, was it 2012 or 2011?
16 years ago.
Long ago.
Yeah,
we started it, and it has been going on. And at that time, we had our own shortcoming that we don't have a person in the ground who thinks like us. I'm there.
Now
can
you are
provide
there.
the
That's why I brought you
Yes, I
here.
can provide the information, and I also explain to you why these people are doing like this, because I've come to understand them. Culture here is very important.
Yes, it is. Thank you, my brother. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, my brother. The pleasure is mine. Have a good weekend, everybody.
See, all right, everybody. See you next weekend.
See you next week.
Do you want to promote your business on Zambia Broad Talk Radio? Yes, that's right. Live on Zambia Broad Talk Radio. To book your spot, just make a donation by picking from the following categories. To get started, just call or WhatsApp the number on the screen and you'll be good to go. Live on Zambia Broad Talk Radio every Saturday for 1 full month. And it will stay on the recorded shows.
Zambia Blog Talk Radio.